of the willing. Soon, all of Sanctuary will be bathed in hatred. And none shall escape the flood.
All right. Grab your potions, tighten your armor straps, and emotionally prepare yourself. Because if there's one thing the upcoming Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred is bringing, it's not just demons, it's personal problems. This expansion centers around Mephisto, a literal Lord of Hatred, who has gone from spooky background manipulator to full-on, I have a body again, and I'm about to ruin everything mode. By this point in the story, things have already gone wrong in the most classic Diablo way possible. You didn't stop the villain from rising, you basically helped set the stage for his return. So instead of preventing the apocalypse, you're now dealing with the consequences of one already in motion. What makes Mephisto different from other big bads in the Diablo universe is his style. He's not loud like Diablo or destructive like Baal. He's quiet, manipulative, and honestly way more dangerous because of it. Instead of smashing cities with fire and chaos, he corrupts people, twists emotions, and spreads hatred like it's a contagious disease. Entire towns don't just fall, they collapse from within. Friends turn against each other, alliances crumble, and belief systems start to fracture. The horror here isn't just monsters. It's watching everything slowly fall apart and realizing it started long before you even showed up. The expansion introduces a new region called Scovos, which might sound like a nice vacation destination until you realize it's basically ancient, cursed, and filled with enough dark history to make your head spin. This place is deeply tied to the origins of humanity in the Diablo universe, and it's packed with ruins, forgotten civilizations, and environments that feel both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Think volcanic coastlines, storm-heavy skies, and ancient structures that look like they've been watching humanity fail for centuries. It's not just a new map, it's a piece of the world's foundation, and it plays a major role in the story's deeper themes. As you move through Scovos, the narrative starts pulling together threads from across the entire game. Old factions, lingering conflicts, and unresolved mysteries all start to connect. The story leans heavily into the idea that you're not just fighting a villain, you're trying to fix a world that's already been damaged beyond easy repair. Everything feels heavier, more connected, and more personal. It's not about stopping something before it happens, it's about dealing with something that already has. At some point, and let's be honest, we all know it's coming, you're going to face Mephisto directly. This isn't just another boss fight. This is a prime evil, one of the most powerful beings in the Diablo universe, and someone who has been manipulating events long before your character even existed. The confrontation is expected to be a major turning point, not just in gameplay, but in the story itself. It's the kind of fight that's less about brute strength and more about everything that led up to it. To help you deal with all this chaos, the expansion is expected to introduce new classes, including the long-awaited Paladin and possibly a darker magic-based class like a Warlock. These additions aren't just for variety, they reflect the tone of the expansion. You're either bringing holy justice into a broken world, or embracing morally questionable power to fight something even worse. Either way, the choices feel meaningful, and they tie into the overall theme of how far you're willing to go to survive. The tone of this expansion is noticeably darker and more psychological than what players might expect. It's not just about killing enemies and collecting loot, it's about watching a world unravel and trying to hold it together, while everything around you is influenced by hatred. Characters may not act the way you expect, situations may not have clear solutions, and the line between right and wrong might get blurrier the deeper you go. For players who care about lore, this expansion is shaping up to be massive. It dives deeper into the origins of Sanctuary, explores the history of the Herodrum, and connects past events from earlier Diablo games in meaningful ways. It's the kind of content that makes longtime fans go, wait, that actually explains something from years ago. It adds weight to everything you do, making the world feel more alive and more tragic at the same time. Gameplay-wise, it still keeps that core Diablo formula. Fight enemies, get stronger, find better gear, but expands on it with new systems, areas, and build options. The loop remains addictive, but there's more depth layered into it. You're not just grinding for power. You're progressing through a world that feels like it's reacting to what's happening in the story. One of the most interesting ideas behind this expansion is the possibility that Mephisto is already winning in ways that aren't immediately obvious. Even if you defeat him physically, the damage he's caused might not be something you can fix. Hatred doesn't just disappear when the source is gone. It lingers, it spreads, and that idea adds a layer of tension that makes the story feel more impactful than a simple defeat the boss and save the world scenario. By the time everything wraps up, this expansion is expected to feel less like a victory lap and more like a hard-earned struggle. The journey isn't about being a flawless hero. It's about surviving, adapting, and trying to make sense of a world that's already been pushed to its limits. The stakes feel higher, not because the enemies are bigger, but because the consequences feel more real. In the end, Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred looks like it's aiming to be more than just additional content. It's a continuation of the story that shifts the focus from action to consequence, from power to emotion, and from simple conflict to something much deeper. It asks a different kind of question. Not can you win, but what does winning even mean when everything is already broken?
An iron fight